Tom Brady has flipped the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their head in 2020, but one of the biggest surprises in Tampa Bay has been running back Ronald Jones. Jones is on pace to surpass 1,100 yards this season and is coming off of a huge 192-yard performance against the Carolina Panthers. Jones has made a name for himself this season, but how have those players selected ahead of him fared? First, I'd like to acknowledge that the majority of the people who watch our videos aren't subscribed to the channel. Help us out by subscribing and joining us on our way to 100K, because it's coming fast and you don't want to miss your opportunity to enlist in the J&D Army. First, let's take a quick look at how Ronald Jones has got to where he is today. Ronald Jones II was born on August 3rd, 1997 in Fort Stewart, Georgia. Jones attended McKinney North High School in McKinney, Texas. He was a 4-star recruit and considered the number 4 running back in the country. Jones committed to play college football at the University of Southern California. Jones had a role for the Trojans as a freshman, rushing for 987 yards and 8 touchdowns. He followed it up as a sophomore by being named second team All-Pac-12 after going for 1,082 yards and 12 touchdowns. As a junior, Jones improved to first team All-Pac-12. He had 1,550 yards and 19 touchdowns on the season. After the season, Jones opted to forego his senior year for the 2018 NFL Draft. At the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected Jones with the 38th selection in the second round. Jones had an extremely limited role as a rookie, recording just 44 yards and a touchdown with an awful 1.9 yards per carry. He saw an expanded role in 2019 and improved on every front, recording a 4.2 yards per carry for 724 yards and 6 touchdowns. Jones has had a true breakout season in 2020 and already has 730 yards and 5 touchdowns through 10 games. Jones' best game came in a Week 10 victory over the Carolina Panthers, where Jones rushed for 192 yards and a touchdown, including a franchise record 98-yard rushing touchdown. Now, let's jump into those running backs selected ahead of Jones. With the second overall pick at the 2018 NFL Draft, the New York Giants selected Penn State's Saquon Barkley. Barkley was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He immediately had a role in the Nittany Lions offense, rushing for a Penn State freshman record 1,067 yards and 7 touchdowns en route to being named second team All-Big Ten. Barkley improved on his freshman campaign the following season. He went on to be named Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year after recording 1,496 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns, along with 402 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. Barkley did much of the same as a junior, earning Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year honors again. He had 1,271 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns to go with 632 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. Barkley decided to declare for the draft, ending his tenure with the Nittany Lions as the school's all-time career rushing touchdowns leader. He was easily considered the best player in the draft thanks to his natural skill. The Cleveland Browns even reportedly considered taking him first overall instead of Baker Mayfield. Barkley somehow managed to set an NFL record in his second game of his career after catching an NFL rookie running back record 14 passes against the Dallas Cowboys. That was a positive sign of what was to come for Barkley, who went on to set franchise rookie records with 1,307 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns. He recorded an NFL rookie running back record 91 receptions for 721 yards and 4 touchdowns. Barkley was named Offensive Rookie of the Year, made the Pro Bowl, and debuted at number 16 in the NFL Top 100 Players of 2019. Barkley performed again in his second season despite missing 3 weeks. He missed time due to a high ankle sprain that was supposed to take him out for at most 8 weeks. Instead, he came back after 3. He truly is a different breed. Barkley finished the season with 1,003 yards and 6 touchdowns. Through the air, he had 438 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. After recording 34 yards, Barkley went down in Week 2 of the 2020 NFL season with a torn ACL. He will miss the remainder of the year. Barkley was easily the top running back in the class, to the point where the next running back didn't go until another 24 picks. The Seattle Seahawks owned the 27th selection, where they took San Diego State's Rashaad Penny. His older brother Elijah is a fullback for the Giants. Coming out of high school, Rashaad was considered a 3-star recruit. Penny didn't see much playing time over his first 2 seasons with the Aztecs. He had 290 yards and 4 touchdowns over the span. Penny finally got the chance to shine behind Donnell Pumphrey in 2016. Penny was the team's second option en route to rushing for 1,018 yards and 11 touchdowns. Pumphrey graduated, and it was Penny's time to take take over, and it went great. Penny had 2,248 yards and 23 touchdowns en route to being named the MWC Offensive Player of the Year. His build perfectly fit the pro running back model that teams look for at the draft. Penny was stuck behind second-year running back Chris Carson and veteran Mike Davis as a rookie. Penny went for over 100 yards once on the season, ultimately finishing the year with 419 yards and 2 touchdowns. Davis left the Seahawks in the offseason, giving way to Penny taking over the number 2 running back spot, but Penny was still left in the dust as Carson had a monster season with over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. Penny only played in 10 games behind Carson before he suffered a torn ACL. He had 370 yards and 3 touchdowns before his injury. Penny has spent the entire 2020 NFL offseason on the physically unable to perform list due to that ACL injury. 31st overall, the New England Patriots drafted Georgia's Sony Michel. His older brother Markin is a practice squad wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers. Sony was a 5-star recruit and listed as the number 3 running back in the nation coming out of high school. Michel was in an unfortunate situation with the Bulldogs where he was stuck behind Nick Chubb on the depth chart. Michel dealt with a fractured shoulder blade as a rookie that limited him to 410 yards and 5 touchdowns in 8 games. The following season was Michel's only collegiate year where he was the Bulldogs' leading rusher due to a Chubb knee injury. Michel dominated as the head of the backfield with 1,136 yards and 8 touchdowns. After the season, Chubb returned and regained the starting role. Michel had a dip in production, recording 840 yards and 4 touchdowns. Stuck behind Chubb as a senior, Michel made the most of his carries, going for 1,227 yards and 16 touchdowns. Michel was expected to make an easier transition to the pros than Chubb and was expected to be a bell cow back. Michel got off to a bumpy start in New England though, after he suffered a knee injury in training camp. He returned in week 2 and rushed for over 100 yards 4 times on the season. Michel finished his rookie campaign with 931 yards and 6 touchdowns, but he made a name for himself in the postseason. In the playoffs, Michel broke the NFL rookie record with 6 touchdowns and scored the only touchdown in the Patriots' Super Bowl 53 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Michel's numbers stayed consistent in his sophomore season, rushing for 912 yards and 7 touchdowns. Georgia running back Nick Chubb was taken 35th in the second round by the Cleveland Browns. Chubb comes from a family of football players, including his cousin Bradley, a Denver Broncos linebacker. Coming out of high school, Nick was a 5-star recruit and considered the number 5 running back in the nation. Chubb was behind Todd Gurley on the Bulldogs depth chart as a freshman, but after Gurley went down with a torn ACL, Chubb took over. Chubb rushed for 1,547 yards and 14 touchdowns on the year. Then in the Belk Bowl, he broke the bowl record with 266 rushing yards en route to being named the game MVP. Chubb was named the SEC Freshman of the Year and first-team All-SEC. Chubb suffered a knee injury in 2015 that limited him to 6 games. He had 747 yards and 7 touchdowns. He split carries with Sony Michel the following season, recording 1,130 yards and 8 touchdowns before making the shocking decision to stay for his senior year. The return may have been worth it as the Bulldogs won the SEC championship before making it all the way to the national championship. Chubb impressed with 1,345 yards and 15 touchdowns en route to being named to second-team All-SEC. Scouts loved Chubb as a pure runner, but they were worried about his ability to catch passes out of the backfield. Chubb started his rookie season as the Browns' 3rd-string running back. After Cleveland traded away Carlos Hyde, though, Chubb got an expanded role. He finished the season with 996 yards and 8 touchdowns, including a franchise record 92-yard touchdown run. Many experts believe that Chubb could break out in 2019, and he delivered, being named to the Pro Bowl after rushing for the 2nd most rushing yards in the league with 1,494. He went for over 100 yards 7 times and added 8 touchdowns. Chubb just returned from injured reserve in Week 10 in 2020 due to an MCL injury. He has 461 yards and 5 touchdowns in only 5 games. And finally, with the 38th selection in the second round of the 2018 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected USC running back Ronald Jones. Jones has been one heck of a story this season, playing alongside the revived Buccaneers behind Tom Brady. There's no doubt that Tampa Bay has been one of the teams to watch this season, but Jones has been a big reason for that. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter for more J&D. We read all of our DMs and love hearing what you have to say.